That is why the doll is infertile. Can you get another answer? The other question is, state the two main functions of a microscope. State the two main functions of a microscope. The two main functions of a microscope. Why do we use the microscope? Yes, magnification of specimens. Something else? How many types of microscopes do you have? Which one and which one? Electron and light microscope. What is the difference between the two microscopes? Yes?
Light microscope uses light, but electron microscope uses electricity.
Yes, on electrons. Yes, correct. Another difference? Another difference between the two. What about the magnification? Which is more powerful? Electron microscope. Right. So one function is the magnification. The other function of a microscope. Yes? Dissolving or dissolution. Right. When you brought a diagram of a microscope, you can be able to label it fully. Starting from the eyepiece up to the base. Ndio. Can you label a microscope? Mwenye mmenyamaza hapa ndio kumaanisha kuna shida. How many can we label a microscope? A light microscope. By the show of hands. Okay, we have one. No one else. Seems that is another task that we need to review. Okay. Let me tell you one thing that examiners love to do. Do you know that some of the teachers that teach you are the ones who set exams? Not you. So when they ask an oral question in class, and they find out that some of the learners, mostly 80% of the group or the learners don't know something. That is something that the teacher will include in the exam. I remember at one time, and a guy from nowhere just came in school and had a brief with the biology lab. I asked a simple question about ecology. To differentiate between psychology and anthropology. I think it was only one student who would be able to differentiate. That question came in the exam. And I can't remember which KCSE. I think 2022. It was in the exam. So the same thing we have noticed, you don't know how to blow a microscope. And you cannot label the microscope. So this is something that you're supposed to work on. Make sure by tomorrow do biology. Okay. And give you that as an assignment. You draw the microscope and label the parts. All the parts. So that question you can get into the exam. Or even you asked the importance of a certain part in the microscope. What is the function of the coarse adjustment knob? What is the function of the fine adjustment knob? What is the function of the mirror? What is the function of the inclination joint? When inclination joint ni gani? So when you draw that microscope, you'll be able to notice all those parts. All those parts in the microscope. That is a highly examinable question. Don't underestimate that question. I took that. Somebody needed it to do light microscope. How is an object illuminated in an electron microscope? How is an object illuminated in an electron microscope? How is an object illuminated in an electron? How? So here you require a brief explanation, a small explanation. How? How do we do it? How is an object in an electron microscope? How is an object illuminated in an electron microscope? So first of all, we need to ask ourselves, what does the electron microscope use? It is what? Beam of electrons. So when you know that, you already have the answer. How? By the use of a beam or beam of or beams of electrons. That is how an electron microscope illuminates specimen. Maybe you're talking about specimen and maybe most of you don't know what is a specimen. What is a specimen? As this in biology. Yes?
A specimen is the smallest unit of classification used to natural value with a great
That is not a specimen. What is that? What has she explained? Yes. Yes. Okay, I don't want to use the word organism. I want to replace the word organism with something else. What can you say instead of an organism? Because specimen, you have a lot of specimens, isn't it? You can use a living organism. You can use plants. You can use an onion leaf as a specimen. So which is the best one that we can use instead of organism? Because a leaf is not an organism. So which is the part? Substance. Okay, so the best one that we can use, we can say a specimen is an organism or let's do that. That is used in the lab. Carry out that is a specimen. That is a specimen. So the other question is, state 3 factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. 3 factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. State 3 factors. Remember the question is state, not explain. Yes? Temperature, yes. Any other, yes?
Concentration.
Carbon 4 oxide concentration. Nyamaza sana, yes. Light intensity. Ingine. Ni mingi. Factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. Acha ongea hapa. Rate unajificha hapa. Nakuona. Give us one. You said light intensity, temperature. Gani ingine tumesema? Temperature, light intensity. Which one else have you said? Which one else have you said? Eh? Water. Ingine? Yes? Yes? Carbon 4 oxide concentration. Ingine? What about the chlorophyll concentration? Anas, what is the function of chlorophyll in plants? What is the function of chlorophyll in plants? In leaves specifically. Where? I think I already got questions to this. To trap light from the sunlight. Remember, we have 3 requirements for photosynthesis to occur. One is photosynthesis. One is sunlight. Ingine? Water. The third one is carbon 4 oxide. Those are the 3 key requirements for photosynthesis to occur. So, the higher the chlorophyll concentration, the higher the rate of photosynthesis. I know you have ever done the practical on test for starch. Sindio? We had 2 experiments, if you can remember. One experiment is whereby you pick the leaf early in the morning. Sindio? Early in the morning. The other one is you pluck the leaf after some hours. Like for example, like right now, already you can pick the leaf and then you test for starch. Which leaf do you expect to test for starch? To have presence of starch? The leaf that I collected in the morning or the leaf that I just collected right now? The leaf that I've just collected right now or the leaf that I collected in the morning? Now. Why? Because already we have presence of sunlight. Also we have carbon 4 oxide and what? And water, obviously. So you'll find that the leaf that I collected early in the morning, since we didn't have sunlight in the morning, there is a higher probability that that leaf did not make food in the morning. Are you together? So the 3 key requirements for photosynthesis to occur is carbon 4 oxide, water, and sunlight. Those are the 3 key requirements. Are you together? So that is what I'm saying. Chlorophyll concentration is another factor. It is another factor. I mean, everyone. And I like this way you know the meaning of CO2. That's the meaning of CO2. Kuna mtu anajui? Niandike in full. Kuna mtu anajui niandike in full? Hamuongei. Kuna mtu anajui niandike in full? Or you know? CO2 is carbon dioxide. Sawa. Carbon dioxide. That is the formula. So factors affecting the rate of synthesis. One, you have said water. Two, you have said light intensity. Three, you have said carbon. Four, light concentration. Four, you have said which other? Light intensity. Light intensity. Then again, chlorophyll concentration. Temperature. Yeah. Okay. What if you are told to explain how these factors affect the rate of photosynthesis? We start with water. How can you explain about water being a factor affecting the rate of photosynthesis? Mnaangalia chini. Taki tuwachague Mungu. Yes, wewe. I will not stop. Tell us something about water. Who will volunteer to tell us about water? When the leaf lacks water, what does it do? Or what is its appearance? Simwache kumama, just raise your hand. Try. Kama mnaogopa kusema, just try. Kujaribu ndio kujua. When the leaf lacks water, how is the leaf? It is dry. Sindio? Sinakauka. Yes. Just like the area in the desert. Because there is inadequate water, you find the leaves are dry. Sindio? The plants that are like xerophytes, most of the xerophytes are dry because of lack of enough water. So when we lack water, means lack of water, we result to the dry of the leaf. We resort to dry. We resort to dry of the leaf. When the leaf dries, it means that no photosynthesis that will occur. So that is the first point. We go to light intensity. We go to light intensity. What is light intensity? Ulikuwa shule yenu umetoa mtihani yote kwa mwaka. Yote. Oh! Kwa mwaka. What is light intensity? For example, right now, do you have a high light intensity or a low light intensity? When you check outside, do you have a high light intensity or a low light intensity? Hmm? High or low? Low. Why have you said low? Why? So light intensity, it is the strength or the wavelength of the light. So the more the wavelength of the light, the higher we say the light intensity is too high. Remember that when you have a lot of light, it will do what to the leaves. What will light do? A high light intensity will do what? Yes? Will?
It damages the
Yes, it damages the chlorophyll molecules. That is true. It damages the chlorophyll molecules. So when the chlorophyll molecules are damaged, it means that the rate of photosynthesis will be reduced. So when you're explaining such kind of a point, remember when it is a lesson, you're supposed to compare. You write when there is high light intensity, it will damage the chlorophyll molecules. Are you together? Thereby reducing the rate of photosynthesis. You have to explain the point. That is why you are given 2 marks in each point. So how does the examiner mark such kind of a question? So you say high light intensity will destroy the chlorophyll pigments, thereby reducing the rate of so you have already talked about the high light intensity. Low light activates the chlorophyll pigments, thereby reducing the rate of so how to examine and how already you have stated light intensity. Very much. High light intensity will destroy the chlorophyll. Don't get your finger. So you have to explain your point. If you don't explain your point, then you just get 1 for listing. You just get 1 mark for listing the factor. So ladders, if you want to pass in biology, ensure that you explain yourself. Just explain yourself. That is light intensity. We go to carbon 4 oxide concentration. How can you explain about carbon 4 oxide concentration? Kuna form 4 huko. Kuna form 4 hapa. Tunaanza kuangalia. Hapa hakuwezi kosa form 4. Bali form 4 ndio. Kuna mwingine? Naona anajificha. Kuna form 4 mwingine. How many form 4 do you have here? You know, don't go. Don't be shy. Only one? Hapana. Aingieni form 3 zote? Kwa safari. Carbon for oxide concentration. Yes.
When the concentration is low, that means the amount of starch which is formed in the process will low. Because there will be less carbon dioxide to
Yes. Yes, that is true. Something that you need to know, the higher the rate of these factors, the higher the rate of photosynthesis. But, when, for example, let me draw a graph here. Here is, for example, take the CO2 concentration. Here is the rate of photosynthesis. We are looking in short form. So, what we have to 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You brought such kind of a graph. But you have such kind of a graph, and then we are told to account. We are told to account for the graph above. 3 marks. The diagram below shows a certain factor that affects the rate of photosynthesis. Account for the description of the graph. How can you account for that? Meshtuka. How can you account for that? Anyone? How can you account for that? Yes? Okay, just explain. There's no problem. Just talk. There's no problem. Aya. Anyone else who can try? Angaliana tu, bora si wewe. Angalia tu mmoja. Sijiamini please. So now you see this. We are saying that an increase in the concentration of CO2. What are you writing? No. Questions. Sikiliza watu waje. Unajua utaelewa. Alafu upate hiyo swali kwa mtihani. Utajichukia kwa hiyo. Utajichukia. There's nothing frustrating like You remember a teacher has explained something but you didn't do that. Na imekuja kwa mtihani. Naomba Mungu arudishe hizo masiku so that you listen all the teachers that. So I was here. So I was saying this. Remember you said that carbon dioxide concentration, the higher the rate of carbon dioxide concentration, the higher the rate of photosynthesis. And now we find that at this point, at that point, the graph has started stagnating. Where is the graph stagnating? The meaning of stagnation, instead of rising, it has started leveling. Where has it started leveling? Because now you are increasing the concentration of CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and now you require other factors for the rate of photosynthesis to keep on rising. So you have, so you have just increased only the concentration of carbon dioxide. You have not increased the light intensity and temperature. So now it reaches at this point whereby now other factors become limiting factors. What do I mean by limiting factors? These factors, the lights of temperature and the light, all we have the main requirements for photosynthesis. We have water, we have CO2 and light. CDO. That is what you're saying. CDO. So we have increased only CO2. So now the limiting factors are light and water. You have increased the rate of concentration of CO2. To increase CO2. We also require other factors to increase the rate of photosynthesis. So you have to include these two other factors so that this graph will continue rising. But now you have just increased the CO2 concentration. So this graph itafika hapa. So now when you increase more CO2, nothing will happen. So the graph itafika hapa, ianze kwenda hivi. Eventually itarudi chini. If you have not included the light and water. But if we include light and water in this graph, the curve itaenda straight to, because all the other factors are present. Haya, wacha nirudie tena. I'm saying this. Here we have CO2 concentration. As you can see, it shows that we are increasing. Kusonga hivi ni increase. This one shows the rate of photosynthesis, right? This one shows the side of the rate of photosynthesis. When we increase the concentration of CO2, the rate of photosynthesis will increase up to a point whereby a more increase in the concentration of CO2 will have no impact on the graph. But when you include the other factors, which are the requirements for photosynthesis, when you include water and light, this graph, instead of going this way, it ends straight. But now, because you're just increasing only one requirement for photosynthesis, that is why this graph is stagnant. So you have to explain that. How do you explain that? You say this, because you're talking about the CO2 concentration. You say this, an increase in carbon dioxide concentration will result to an increase in the rate of photosynthesis up to a point whereby a further increase in the rate of CO2 concentration will have no impact on the graph because we have other limiting factors which are water and light. Because here, the more you're increasing carbon dioxide, it will have no impact on this. That is why the graph is stagnating. But now when we add light and water, the graph will go straight. So the rate of photosynthesis will increase. It will increase because all the requirements for photosynthesis are present. So you have to check when you brought such kind of a diagram. This is what it might be light intensity. It might be carbon 4 oxide. Mostly they use carbon 4 oxide in light intensity. So it is light intensity and carbon 4 oxide concentration. So should I write for you the description of how you're supposed to write about the graph? You have written this light intensity. Are you sure? What's the problem? But there's not a graph. Something I would like you to do, you get past papers, most probably from 2021, the KCSE. Mwangi. These examiners, what they do, they just interchange. This round they can tell you to explain two factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. To explain format. Next one, utaletewa a graph. You are told to explain. Explain this factor according to the graph above. 3 marks. Or you are told, they can tell you explain, describe, or account. Those words means the same. So anytime you come across such kind of word, you're supposed to explain. Ukistate, utapatiwa marks nusu. So if the marks were given 4, utapata B. So ensure that when you're going to explain, you explain. Otherwise, you lose marks by not explaining. So I've said you're explaining about the graph. So you explain an increase in carbon 4 oxide will result to an increase in the rate of photosynthesis of polymers So you can be given 3 marks. An increase in carbon 4 oxide will result to an increase in the rate of photosynthesis. And this one about stagnating. Other factors becoming limiting. The factors that are becoming limiting are water and light. Those are the factors that are becoming limiting. So you go to the next question. Umaliza kuandika? Go to the next. So the diagram below is shows a cell obtained from one specialized tissue in plant leaves. Name the tissue from which the cell was obtained. This is the cell. So that is the cell. The question is, name the tissue from which the cell was obtained. Name the tissue from which the cell was obtained. Which tissue is that? How many tissues do you have in a leaf? How many tissues do we have in a leaf? These are being the leaf. Which are these tissue? Which tissue is that? Huh? Which other tissues do you have in that tissue? Eh? Which other tissues do you have in the leaf? Yes? Spongy? Spongy one? Spongy mesophyll tissue. Vascular bundles, yes. The phloem and the xylem tissues. What about parenchyma? So now, the name of the tissue from which cell? So name the tissue from which the cell was obtained. Where did we get this cell from? From which tissue? Huh? Which tissue? Tissue. Huh? Huh? Unasema nini? Palisade. Why palisade? Why palisade? Explain your answer. You have said palisade. Why? You have said palisade tissue. Why have you said palisade tissue?
Because it's a palisade.
Pardon. Why have you said palisade? Yes? Which factor has made you to know this one is palisade, not spongy? That is what I want. Explain your answer. The presence of chloroplast. There's something that you need to add in your answer.
It has chloroplast, it has chlorophyll, it has short light,
You have tried, but what I wanted you to say, it has got a bigger number of chloroplasts. It has got a higher number of chloroplasts. It has got a higher number of chloroplasts. That is why it is situated beneath the leaf. Situated beneath. That is why it has got a higher number of chloroplasts so that it can trap a lot of light. To help in the process of photosynthesis. So the other question is state 2 ways in which the tissue named above, which is the palisade tissue, is adapted to its functions. I think that is some function. Adaptation. But I know there are some of you are still asleep. The girl in the mask does not talk. It's okay. There's a point I've given about the palisade tissue. So I want the adaptation, one adaptation towards its function. Adaptation. Tushasema. So nataka tukumbushe chenye tumesema. What are we saying about why you have said it is the palisade tissue? So that is an adaptation. It has got a higher number of chloroplasts to do what? To trap more light to help in photosynthesis. That is one. Ingine? It is the other adaptation. In fact, these adaptations, they are things that you can see. For example, one, it is located beneath the leaf surface to ensure that maximum light has been absorbed. It is located higher. This is the leaf surface. This is the leaf surface. So it is just located beneath the leaf surface. You continue to look at the leaf surface. So the location itself, it helps them to trap a lot of sunlight because it is slightly beneath the leaf surface. So that is another adaptation. It is located beneath the leaf surface. Now we are thinking. So it is located beneath the leaf surface. So those are the two adaptations. Some of these things, you just observe the diagram. Provided you have the image in mind, you can be able to apply. That is the secret in passing in government. Usifikirie sana. Apply what you know to what you don't. Because most of these topics, they just go around themselves. The other question is, give an example of structural protein and functional proteins. Give an example of a Structural protein and functional protein. Which are the building blocks of protein? Which are the building blocks of protein? Amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. So now I want us to discuss about the functional proteins and the structural proteins. Structural. What is how the nails? Which protein is used to make our nails? Which protein is used to make our nails? Which protein? Nails, hair, hooves, animal hooves. Unajua hooves za ng'ombe? Kuna animal hooves. Unajua hooves? Watu wajui. Ni viatu za ng'ombe. That is the word. Those are called hooves. So which protein is used in the structure of nails, hooves, and hair? What? Ever heard of this one? Ever heard of such people? What? Umesikia? Umesikia keratin? Umesikia? So keratin is one structural protein. Structural means it makes the structure. It is used in making hooves, hair, and nails. So that is one. Ingine? Kama mbuki ya structural, what about functional? Functional proteins. Functional proteins. Sasa hizo watu wako busy sana wanaandika kwa hizo. Enzymes. Right. Enzymes. What else? What else? What about hormones? Hormones. Unajua hormones? So what give me an example of a hormone? Someone to give me an example of a hormone. An example. Ati gani? Unajua sikusikii vizuri juu ya mask. Unaweza toa mask? Sikusikii vizuri. Yes, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. Ingine? Kwanza ako form 4. Yes. Form 3 kuna yenye hawajafika reproductive system. Any hormone? Adrenaline, gibberellin hormone, estrogen, ingine? Auxin. Is responsible for what? Auxin. Responsible for? Responses, ndio? The nastic response. Ingine? What about luteinizing hormone? So hormone is another functional protein. Another one is hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. Unajua hemoglobin? What is the work of the hemoglobin? What is the work of the hemoglobin? Nakaa niko peke yangu. Hemoglobin? Yes. Yes. It gives the blood the red color. Okay. So we go to the structure of protein. Another one is the connecting muscle. Connecting muscles. The connective muscles. Unazijua? Connective muscles. Ni mmesoma support and locomotion. Uko form 3 or form 4? Sawa. So we go to the next question. State the main contribution of Carola's modern state the main contribution of Carola's Linnaeus to modern classification. Modern classification. What is the main contribution of this guy in modern classification? What is the main contribution? So when you asked about the main contribution about this guy, is the binomial? What is binomial nomenclature? What is binomial nomenclature? Yes. Correct. The scientific double naming of living organisms. So he introduced binomial. That is the main contribution. The other one is state the structural differences between palisade and mesophyll cells. Palisade and mesophyll. So, whenever you ever get a question telling you to differentiate, you have to draw a table, such a table, so that we can see the difference. This one is different from this. You have to do such a table. So that when you examiner, you know what you're doing. So, what is the difference between palisade cells and mesophyll cells? What is the main difference? Structure. Remember, it is structure. So it is according to its structure. Structural difference. These are the differences. The structural difference. Structural difference. We have already said down some of the structural differences. Structure is the structure. How is it structured in a card? How is it structured? For example, you can see the teacher is blocky. Blocky. That is a structure. So the same way, we need to explain about a diagram or maybe a cell. How is it structured? So if you find such kind of a question, you can draw. There's a chora to up next. So that you can notice the structural difference. For example, I've already drawn this is the spongy, and this one is the palisade cells. When you can observe, you can see the differences. without even looking so hard. Some of the differences, for example, the palisade cells, they have got numerous chloroplasts. So here they have numerous. We've just explained here that they have numerous chloroplasts. That is why they are situated just slightly beneath the leaf surface so that they can trap more sunlight, or they can absorb more sunlight. So if they have numerous chloroplasts, the mesophyll cells have few. Few chloroplasts. That is the first difference. Bora alita kwa cover yake. What if you mishandle the book? Then the page is torn. The cover is torn. Kitabu inaanza unatupa. To disconnect the book from the cover, unatupa. Okay. The other difference is what? Where is the cells located? The palisade cells are located where? Sasa nimewatolea hapa. Where are the palisade cells located? Is it the upper part of the leaf or the lower part of the leaf? Lower or upper? Palisade, you're talking about palisade. Palisade, is it upper or lower? Upper or lower? Upper or lower? Because I remember I've seen it. The palisade cells are just located beneath the leaf surface, so they go to. So those who are saying lower. If they are lower, then they cannot be able to trap light. And that is why the spongy mesophyll are lower, are below the palisade cells. That is why they have few chloroplasts. If they have few chloroplasts. Yeah, so that is why they are lower. But these ones here upper, these palisade tissues, they have a high number of chloroplasts. That is why they are situated in the upper surface of the leaf, so that they can absorb a lot of sunlight. Better. So you're saying the spongy mesophyll cells are lower upper? Upper or lower? Upper or lower? Nani ajaelewa? Sikope kwa. Ndio tu. Sina kiboko. Ndio tabayo mjali peke yako. Kwa peke yako. Was not understood. So this is the leaf surface. You can't understand. I don't get that. So the practically. At least if you measure practically, it will be absorbed easily. Just one leaf. So for those who don't know, this is a leaf. The palisade, they are just slightly beneath. Is equal to chini, upper to chini kidogo. Slightly beneath the leaf surface. Leaf surface is here. This is the leaf surface. So it is slightly beneath, upper chini, slightly beneath the leaf surface. That is the palisade cells. And that is why they have a high number of chloroplasts, because they are slightly beneath the leaf surface, so that they can trap a lot of light. Now the spongy mesophyll, ziko hapa karibu na uti. So they are on the lower part. That is why they have few number of chloroplasts. Are you together? So this is the lower surface of the leaf. This is the upper surface of the leaf. And this part is the one that is exposed to the sunlight. so that the palisade cells, which are just slightly beneath the leaf surface, will be able to trap as much light as possible, so that the light can facilitate in the rate of photosynthesis. So tumeelewa sasa. So the palisade cells ziko juu. The spongy mesophyll cells are located on the lower part of the leaf. That is the difference of the structure. The palisade cells are located on the upper part of the leaf. And the spongy mesophyll cells are located on the lower part of the leaf. That is the structural difference of tissue. So you write that. Located on the upper part of the leaf. Keep those. So there is something that you need to know. When you're comparing these differences, they're supposed to be compared hii na hii. So usiandike numerous chloroplast, alafu hapo uandike located on the lower part of the leaf. That is not comparison. So they're supposed to be at par. You uandike numerous chloroplast, few chloroplast. Correct. But don't you write numerous chloroplast, they are located on the lower part of the leaf. But this is the first one you get. So hii kitu moja hii. So hii moja utapata. That is the difference. You have to show the difference. These are the first one is this way, the second one is this way. On the same line. So andike hapa hii uandike hapa. And then this one. For example, numerous chloroplast located at the lower part of the leaf. That is what the difference. You have to compare the differences. The way I can say, for example, here, if you have two learners here, one learner is tall, the other one is short. We are talking about the length or the height. But now when you say this learner is tall, the other one is plump. Okay, it is a difference, but it is not the same level of comparison. You can't compare. You're supposed to compare the same level. Kama ni height, you talk about height. If it is length, if it is size, you talk about the size. So the same way happens here. Biology is strict. That is if I goes to learners. Most of the learners fail. But I know you fail because you don't know how the marking is done. So that is how it's supposed to be. Numerous, few groups. Don't interchange. Right together. Don't interchange. Go life in a strict. You make a mistake. Like for example, binomial, uandike bonomo ushangu. Why do they love it? Because that bonomo has got a different meaning. Not unless what you've written has the same meaning in binomial. If it has the same meaning. But if it has got a different meaning from what you've written, like but the bad thing is you don't see the results. So don't have any message here. Just get the results already. So that is the bad side. So you need to know where you went wrong. But now, because I've explained to you, spelling mistakes are highly prevalent. But unless, if you have made a mistake, if it has got the same meaning with what you're talking about, you get it. But if the meaning is different, just like you write the word kidney, instead of writing kidney, that is the spelling of the word kidney, isn't it? Uandike kidney. When you check the dictionary, this word has got a different meaning than this, isn't it? So where's the word? Put a spell. So you have to write the correct spelling. If it is atherosclerosis, write the correct spelling. What is atherosclerosis in English? Amjui. Did you learn about transporting animals? Iko hapo. In the heart, a disease. In the heart. How many diseases do you know that affect the heart? Achana hii yenye nimesema sana. Which other diseases do you know that affect the heart? Yes, kuna research. Hiyo sasa hiyo iko kwa plant. Dada mwingine? Thrombosis, yes. Mwingine? Achana hii nimeandika. Adelio. What about heart failure? Varicose veins. So atherosclerosis is a whereby there are fat deposits on the arteries. So if this is an artery, you find there are deposits of fat inside the vein of the artery. So if you have fat deposits inside the vein, it will affect the pumping of blood. Because now the heart will be forced to use a lot of energy to pump the blood, which will result to the heart failing. Because for example, it's just like when before Rana, just 1 the same way happens to the heart. The heart here it pumps blood to the other parts of the body. Now, when this artery, the artery is narrowed, the lumen of the artery is narrowed by the fat deposits, without doing exercises, this will happen to your arteries. Now you find that you're walking a small distance, a short distance, for example from here to that building, maybe kuna kamlima, fika pale hata kupumua ni shida. These are the factors. Ukiendelea hiyo, the heart will fail. Because now the heart is using a lot of energy to pump blood to the other parts of the body. Because the other parts of the body requires blood. Mostly oxygenated blood, mostly your brain. So if the blood is the heart is using a lot of energy to pump blood, then it will fail eventually. Itachoka and it will fail. Because you're pushing the heart to do a lot of work that it is not supposed to do. So my learners, I'm going to eat junks. If you're eating junks, do exercises. Do exercises. Sitaki kusikia ati barabara jirani na umeshikwa na hiyo kwanza. You have a great problem. So ensure that even if you are taking junks, don't take a lot of junks. And then do regular exercises. They will help your body to keep fit. Your body will always be fit. For example, if I can tell some people to run from here to there, kufika pale kama ameandika. Ndio anashindwa kupumua. So can you do regular exercises to keep your body fit and healthy? I think yeah. The same way, not only the heart, even the kidney. You have to do some exercises to make your body parts alive. When you don't do exercises and you take water, for example, who can be open? I don't get to kweli. Sema yada alikunywa maji. Hakuna. Alikunywa. Mbona unaogopa kunywa mkono? So only one student. How many students here take 5 glasses of water per day? Hakuna. You're supposed to take 5 to 6 glasses per day. Also, when you wake up early in the morning, you're supposed to take a glass of water, warm water, to activate your brain cells. Because during the night, remember sometimes you sweat, still. When you sweat in the night, you lose a lot of water from your body. So your body becomes what? Dehydrated. Still. Because a lot of water was wasted through sweating. So you have to replace that lost water by taking 2 or 1 glass of water in the morning to activate even your brain cells. Otherwise, you'll be having some complications. Unaamka, some of the always be like those are the factors. So what you're learning in biology, make use of it. The other one is define the following terms. We have respiration. What is respiration? What is respiration? What is respiration? When you say an organism has respired, what do you mean? When you say an organism has respired? Know the difference between gases exchange and respiration. They are two different terms. What is the meaning of respiration? Yes, tell us what is respiration. No problem.
Breathing in and out.
We are jumping. Tell us something.
It is the process by which food substances are chemically broken down to produce light.
Correct. So, respiration, I'll just add something that she didn't state. Respiration is the process by which living organisms chemically break down food substances in the presence of oxygen to produce energy. So you have to say it is using oxygen. So I repeat, it is the process by which living organisms chemically break down substances chemically break down food substances to release energy. For example, maybe after lunch, you have taken ugali. You can ask this question. I never seen it in 2018 KCSE. They asked this question. Alana from Kimirimiri Secondary School into Gali during lunch. In the afternoon, when he went back to class, he started feeling to doze off. I explained why Alana started feeling to doze off during the afternoon lesson. 2 months. If you are in that exam, what would you write? I repeat, Alana in Kimirimiri Secondary School took ugali for lunch. After lunch, during the afternoon lesson, the learner started feeling dizzy. Then why? The learner started feeling dizzy 2 marks.
Student in the class, written because the reason was taking place. Or that it was being broken down.
A good try. But what if your learner angepatiwa mchele? Angelala?
Amelala, sipii chakula na bado inatoa.
Wewe ukikula lunch shule kama si ugali unalalanga. Wewe try.
Because during respiration, oxygen is required. And then, due to the fact that we have gravity, we need more oxygen for respiration to take place. So, blood, like the brain gets depleted of some blood so that the intestine can get a sufficient supply of oxygen. That's why the study feel easy.
Sasa umeharibu mahali umesema blood and small intestine. Hapa mbele ulikuwa umeanza vizuri. Sasa hapo mwisho umekuja kuharibu. That is another issue why you fail in exams. Just write something that you're sure of. Ukiongezea kitu kingine hapa mwisho ushaanguka. So when you answering a question, first understand the question. And when you answering, check what you answering. Because there is an answer that you can give. At first, ulikuwa correct. Kabisa, hapo ungepata like 1.5 mark. But now the moment unaleta intestines na nini, sasa hapo the whole answer becomes. So, ugali and rice. Between those two types of food, which food require more energy to be broken down? Ugali or rice? So you find that this learner, more energy which is being released when the food is broken down is reused again to completely break down this ugali. So oxygen and energy is required. So that is why you find the person is sleeping. Because oxygen and energy are being used to break down the food. But when he eats rice, ni ngumu sana upate mtu akilala sana kama amekula mchana. But ugali kwanza yakisia ni the person will just sleep. Which is normal. So even if it cools, we don't analyze, but there are some who just prepare. Because I'm going to salad, the other two because I'm going to so that is the reason. More oxygen is required to break down the meal to release energy, thereby resulting to the student feeling dizzy. Because even, for example, when you're in the field, you have played like more than 2 hours or 3 hours, and there is, excuse me, sasa unamwongelesha, yeye anataka kusikiza, ndio unamwongelesha. Wewe kusikiza. Akusikiza. Sasa unamwongelesha. Yeye itasema. So saying this. If you play around 3 to 4 hours with direct heat, maybe around from 1 to around 12 to around 3 that there is a high probability that this runner will faint. You know that? From 12 to 3 that. That is when the sun is blazing. So there is a high probability, high chances the runner will faint. When is the runner fainting? I feel like I'm not oxygen. Kuna about oxygen level. So, what did you say oxygen level? What is oxygen level? Uniform 2R. From 2R kana respiration. What is oxygen level? So tumetoka respiration tukaenda oxygen. What is oxygen level?
Amount of oxygen required to convert the amount of oxygen required to convert.
Oh, idea. It is the extra amount of oxygen required to convert lactic acid to what? Lactic acid to what? Wow. It was in your school. Hizo maswali zote niliweka yote. Remember that when you are doing exercises, carbon dioxide is being done what? Carbon dioxide is being released. Sindio? So you have lesser amount of oxygen in your body. Remember, you are doing a muscular activity or a strenuous activity that requires more energy, and oxygen is required. What is excretion? What is excretion? Excretion. Not secretion, excretion. What is excretion? What is excretion? Want to try?
The process of which living organisms separate and eliminate waste products during the metabolic process.
Yes. So excretion is the process by which living organisms separate and eliminate waste products from the body. Waste products from the body. Remember, there is a difference between excretion and secretion. Secretion is production. Production. But excretion is removal. So notice the difference between the two. Don't confuse. The last one is irritability. What is irritability? What is irritability? Irritability? Wow. Yeah. So it is the process by which living things respond to environmental changes. For example, right now, it's a bit hot, so you find yourself removing the sweater. When it is cold, you find yourself getting a sweater to wear, so that is irritability. How you are responding to the environmental changes. If it is cold, you wear a jacket. If it is hot, you remove your jacket. Right together. That is process by which living organisms respond to the environmental changes. Up to there, any question? Any question? Any comment?
What is the difference between respiration and respiratory exercises?
Okay, that's a good question. Respiration, you have said, it is the process by which food is chemically broken down in the presence of oxygen to produce energy. Respiratory services, these are the services that are used for respiration. For example, the lungs. The lungs, which channels the nose, which other part? Then the lungs, the respiratory system, the alveolus, the gills in fish, the lungs in amphibians, like the frog, also the skin. We have different respiratory surfaces. For example, if it is amphibians like the frog, we have the lungs, we have the skin, and we have the mouth cavity, the buccal cavity. For fish, we have the gills. Gills are used for respiration. In human beings, you have the nose and the lungs. Another question? But kindly, from one group. Just going through those questions, I've noticed you have some weaknesses. Is your answer answered clearly? Respiratory services, these are the services that are used for respiration to take place. The services that are used. And we have different services in fish, human beings, and amphibians. You might be asked, which is the respiratory surface that is used in amphibians when they are young? Because we have a respiratory surface that is used when they are living in water. Nazikitoka kwa maji. So when they are living in water, they use what? What do they use? When they are living in water. We have said amphibians have 3 respiratory surfaces. We have the skin, we have the mouth, or the mouth cavity, and then lungs. Sindio? So which surface do they use when they are in water? They use the mouth. They use the skin. Do they use the lungs? What do they use? Huh? What do they use? Between the skin and the lungs, what do they use? Because the mouth, they use it on land. What do they use in water? Huh? Pardon? Frogs, yes. I'm asking, what do they use in water? The skin. Because now the lungs, remember the lungs have not developed, sindio? It is just like a child. No. So the lungs have not yet developed, sindio? Usually they cannot use the mouth cavity when they're inside the water. Because when they use the mouth cavity, kumaanisha maji itaingia. So have you ever realized when the frog is on the land, unaona hapa chini inaenda hivi, sindio? It is breathing. It is respiring. Hapa mjei angalia. Unajua labda chura mnaona chura mnatoka. If you are a biologist, you have to observe these things. So when it is on land, it breathes using the lungs or the mouth cavity. But when it is inside water, it uses the skin. Because now the lungs have not yet developed. So after they have developed, now when it is an adult frog, it can now use the lungs of the maybe it want to regulate the countercurrent system. Unajua countercurrent that mostly is found in the fish. Well, so, but mostly it uses the skin. It uses the skin when it is inside water. Because mostly we find that those they are in tadpoles. Little tadpoles, young frogs, tadpoles. They have not yet developed the systems. So just like a kid, a small child around 2 months, the child has not developed the systems in his or her body. Ndio? Ana tumbo yake bado haijadevelop. That is why ananyonya tu hawezi kula. Neno hana. You see? So before the child develops now the child can be able to do the activities like eating food. The same way happens to the other animals. Like a calf, it just sucks milk from the mother. The cow that is. So before the parts are developed, that is when it starts eating food now on its own. So now Masai imeenda. You're supposed to go for break, sio? Kama mtaki kwenda? That's there's no problem. So we'll meet after break, sio?
Msiende after class, you take a register. After class, class mtakwenda kule ile.
Welcome back. So my dear friends, how are you conversant with practicals? Practicals. How are you conversant with practicals? What do you mean by practicals? In Form 1, we learned about several types of tests. Some starch, sport, some gani ingine, reducing sugars and reducing gani ingine protein, ndio na vitamin C, ndio naweza kumbuka the procedure. Naweza kumbuka the procedures. Achana kitabu. Look at the procedures. Yeah? Can you remember? Huh? So, what will you do? The next lesson, the core practicals. The next biology lesson itakuwa ni next week. So we'll talk about practicals. How you're supposed to write the practicals. You're supposed to write the procedure, the steps that you're supposed to follow, the observation and the conclusion. Those are 3 marks. What you're supposed to answer and what you're not supposed to answer. So you continue with theory. So which tissues perform the following functions in plants? Synthesis of food. Which tissue performs the function of plant? Synthesis of food. Which tissue is responsible for synthesis of food in plants? Synthesis of food. Synthesis of food. Synthesis of food. Which tissue? Palisade. Palisade. Cell division. Cell division. Which tissue is responsible for cell division? Which tissue? Cell division. Cell division is meristematic. The other one is protection of the inner delicate tissues. Protection of inner protection of the inner delicate tissues. So, I had a leaf here. Which tissue is responsible of protecting the inner tissues in the leaf? Which tissue? Cuticle is not a tissue. Which tissue? Hiyo ni leaf inawachanganya hivi. The upper layer of the leaf is called what? The upper layer of the leaf is called? Ever had such kind of a word? Yes, yes. So the protection of the inner delicate tissues is the epidermal. Epidermal tissue. Now, if you are asked which part protects protects the inner parts of a leaf, you say it's the cuticle. So there is a difference between a part and a tissue. Note the difference. Define the following terms. Active transport. What is the difference between active transport and active transport and diffusion? What is the diffusion?
Diffusion is a process by which molecules move from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. concentration. Yes.
Tunaanza.
Concentration.
Nini hajaweka hapo? Across? Across what? Concentration? Are you correct or not? What is active transport? What is active transport? Active transport. Look at those people who are not what is active transport? Hapo umejichanganya. Umejichanganya sana. So when you're defining these terms, the main words that you need to include: movement, where is the movement moving from? To where? What is moving? What is moving? The other question is it across or against a gradient? A concentration gradient. That is. The other one is, are we using energy, use of energy, or not? Those are the questions that you're supposed to include in your definition. So if you don't include those words, then you cannot get a full mark. Because mostly the question you're given each definition one mark. So we start. What is active transport? Remember to include is the movement of what? From where to where? Is it against or across? Are you using energy or not? If you fail to include all these, you will not get a mark. Because the definition will be complete.
The movement of molecules from region of low concentration to high concentration, no? Step from a region of low concentration to high concentration against the concentration of gradient by use of energy.
Correct. One clap for you. So he has explained it is the movement of molecules or ions from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration movement against a concentration gradient with the use of energy. Why are we using energy? Because it is moving from a region of low chini. Toka chini kwenda juu. That's like when you are pumping water. When you are pumping water from a low area to an up area, so lazima utumie energy. The same way we are saying. If it is movement from low concentration to where it is highly concentrated, you have to use energy. So that is the definition. Process by which it is the movement of particles from a region or molecules from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration against a concentration gradient the presence of oxygen. So lazima oxygen ikuweke to provide energy. So we have the use of energy in the process. So when you are trying to differentiate between the fusion And active transport, just like how I said, when you're differentiating, you have to draw a table like that. One, which is the first difference in active transport and efficient. The differences are in the definition. The differences are in the definition. Now, the difference is in the definition. What we have just defined, what is active transport?
Inactive transport, democratic inactive transport, the one that is from regional low concentration,
Correct. Here, movement of molecules, movement of molecules from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration. These are now here movement of molecules from a high concentration to a low concentration. We have two more. Two more. Two more. I said the answer is in the definition. Ukisema tu hiyo definition utapata nini? Hata try.
Active transport uses energy. And the efficient use of
Correct. Use of energy. No energy required. Finish. Number three. Number three. Haya tu. Dai mani jezi. Say one time. That one, active transport, we said it is against the concentration. Concentration of gradient. So here occurs against concentration gradient. This one occurs across the concentration gradient. These are the three differences in the both processes. So when you answer to a question, check the definition of the terms. The answer will give you the difference. What if you are given such kind of a question? whereby you're told, Alana, from their kind of primary school, got into class with a perfumed shirt. Alana, at the behind side, felt the smell of the perfume. Which process is that? Which process is that? A. Active transport. B. Diffusion. C. Osmosis. D. None of the above. Yes? I repeat the question. Let me repeat the question again. Well, usiulize. I'm repeating the question again for those learners who are partially asleep. Alana from Yakairo Primary School got into class with a perfumed shirt. His friend, who was sitting at the back of the class, felt the smell of the perfume. Which process was that? Which process was that? Acha kumwambia wewe. Wewe unakwambia. Sasa hata sitakuuliza. Yes. I give the choices. A. Active transport. B. Diffusion. C. Osmosis. D. None of the above. Tell us. Umeambiwa, si ndio? Hiyo ni kuambiwa umeambiwa. Si ndio? Si umeambiwa? So you find that when the student is getting inside the class, you already have the perfumed t-shirt. So the molecules of the perfume are moving from where they are highly concentrated, where it is on the t-shirt, on the learner's t-shirt in the figure. The same thing happens in class when learners are misbehaving. A learner can release some dangerous gases from the body, and it will spread over the whole class. That is another process we call diffusion. Because the molecules are diffusing too fast. So that is diffusion. Right together, others. Also, there is a practical that you did. Is it potassium permanganate that is pink in color? Whereby you have a straw. Which crystal? So this one is someone's thumb. These are pink crystal. The purple, sorry. Purple crystal. So you remove the straw and the crystal remains inside the beaker, and it is going to spread out. Which process is that? Osmosis or diffusion? Osmosis or diffusion? Diffusion or osmosis? Osmosis, this is osmosis or diffusion? Osmosis or diffusion? Osmosis. This is not a correct answer. So it is diffusion. Because this molecule is spreading from where it is highly concentrated, which is this part, where it is lowly concentrated. But when your blood are disking tubing, umeniangalia watoto. A bright learner from Bamburi Primary School, and secondary, the primary hakuna hiyo. From Bamburi Secondary School, made this setup, trying to carry out a certain process in cell physiology. Which process was the learner trying to carry out? Which process was the learner trying to carry out? Osmosis. What happened after 25 minutes? Explain. 4 marks. Explain what happened after 25 minutes. This time, see. Explain. 4 marks. Lazima tuanze hapa.
The skin to be expanded because the water molecules moved to a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration because it's improving the The skin tubing expanded because the water molecules moved from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration because of the
3 marks. Anyone else? Atuambie penye hiyo mark nyingine ikapeleka. I told you, when you just look at the diagram, itakupatia majibu. When you know the meaning of osmosis, you know what the diagram, the answers that the diagram will give. I'm still looking for responses from you. Could anyone manage this?
The cost of the observation.
Yes, on the observations that will account for 4 marks.
So, basically, the content in the vision tubing increased. As the vision tubing increased in size. This is because the water molecules in the water in the tract moved across the viscous tubing through osmosis into the sucrose solution because the sucrose solution had a higher osmotic rotation than the water. Hence, the water moved across the basement into the super solution
How did you feel?
through osmosis.
Hakuna mwingine anataka kuvolunteer? Aya, what do I want? I want you to give me an answer in this form. We know that osmosis is the process by which water molecules move from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. See you? Aya. So what will happen here? Water will come out from the basin. See you? Yeah. See you? See you? Aya. After that, what will happen? The volume of the viscous tubing will increase. The volume. Volume now, it will be the combination of the sucrose solution plus water. So the volume in the viscous tubing will increase. That is the first way. The amount of water in the trough or in the basin will do what? Decrease. The volume of water in the basin will decrease. Why is it decreasing? Because water has moved from the trough and got to the viscous tubing. So the volume here in the trough or in the basin will decrease, but here inside will increase. So the viscous tubing will bulge out because there is an increase in content inside. So the viscous tubing will enlarge. So those are the two observations I wanted you to highlight. Water molecules will move from where it is highly concentrated, whereby it is in the basin, to where it is lowly concentrated, where it is inside the viscous tubing, thereby increasing the volume in the viscous tubing. More so, the volume of water or the amount of water in the basin will decrease. So you have to explain. Because as the water has gotten out from the basin, you may hear obvious, it will reduce in your. So you have to explain every observation that has happened in the. So you can't. So you have to say the process itself. See osmosis. You will say water molecules moved from the region where it was highly concentrated, that is in the basin, to where it was lowly concentrated, that is in the viscous tubing, a process we call osmosis. Thereby increasing the content inside the viscous tubing and reducing the amount of water in the basin. So you have to explain this process of osmosis. What is the meaning of osmosis? The movement of water molecules from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. Remember here the semi-permeable membrane is the viscous tubing. So water will get in very easily. The viscous tubing. That is the meaning of across the semi-permeable. So you have to show the meaning of osmosis. Water has moved from where to where. After that, what has happened? There is an increase in the content in the viscous tubing. In the two rays, because water has come out from the basin, the viscous. After water has moved from the basin, it means now water has reduced in the basin. So when you give the definition, hapo unapata 2 marks. The definition, which is water moved from where it was highly concentrated to where it was lowly concentrated, that is in the viscous tubing across a semi-permeable membrane, which is the viscous tubing. How ukifikisha hapo, you have 2 marks already, because you already shown how osmosis has taken place. You have 2 marks. Then after that, you write there was an increase in the content in the viscous tubing due to the movement of water molecules, and a decrease in the amount of water in the basin due to the movement of water molecules from the basin to the viscous tubing. You get your 4 marks. That is how you earn marks in biology. Very simple. Provided you write the observations. All the observations are marked. Kiacha hanging, unapatiwa 3, 2. So that is how you get all the marks in there. So when you are explaining your points, ensure that you explain them in a manner that will can you take this situation like the examiner does not know anything. Hajui kitu. Is a biggie, ameingia class. Hajui kitu. So you explain to the examiner what he is expecting. So if you are doing an exam, don't think that you are writing to the teacher. Write the answers like you're explaining to someone who has never gone to class. Ajai class, unamfunza. Kana kama tunafunza, for example, after umetoka from 1 umeingia from 2. So we are teaching you new topics. So the way we treat you like you don't know anything, the same way you're supposed to treat the examiner. Hajui kitu. Ameingia hivyo tu class, amepata karatasi. Kunaendanga hivi na hivi na hivi. You see? Then you can explain someone direction. Kama uko sewage utafika aje hapa sasa. Kuja hivi, like you show the person the direction. Hajui. So the same way you're supposed to explain your points in biology. Mostly when you're elaborating such kind of a practical. All the practicals are supposed to be explained. Very. The way the textbook has explained them, you're supposed to explain them the same way. Because when you miss one explanation, mostly in the practicals, you won't get the result. Utapata. For example, if you are testing for starch, you require to do what? Dip the leaf inside a boiling tube, and then you add methylated spirit, sindio? And then you boil, sindio? And then you remove the leaf, you place it in warm water, sindio? So what I'm trying to say is that you're supposed to follow the right procedure. You explain your points. Take the examiner as someone who has never gone to class. When you explain that way, you're going to earn marks. But if you don't explain yourself, the examiner is malaika ajue tenye ulikuwa unafikiria. So you have to give all the points well elaborated. Right together, learners? So the other one is name the kingdom to which each of the following organisms belong. Yeast. Yeast is in which kingdom? Yeast. Huh? Fungi. Spirogyra. Spirogyra. Ama mnaitanga spirogyra. It depends. Which kingdom? I'm talking about kingdom. See film. Kingdom. Correct. Kingdom Protopista. How many kingdoms do we have? Moja. Fungi. Monera. Protopista. Animalia na Planta. Sawa. Naona mnakumbuka. Hiyo msao. Okay. Name the specific part of the chloroplast where the following processes occur. Carbon 4 oxide fixation. Carbon 4 oxide fixation in the chloroplast. Which part? Which part of the chloroplast does carbon 4 oxide fixation occur? Stroma, correct. Photolysis. Photolysis. What is photolysis? Mtu mmoja au wengine kwanza wako wapi? What is photolysis? Sasa hii kila mtu anaangalia chini. Photolysis. Hawa volunteers. Photolysis isipokuwa hao wenye wanajibu sana. Hao wamejibu sana. Photolysis. Tell us. Kwanza kuniangalia alafu naangalia na huko. Tell us. What is photolysis? Je? Wow. Umemwambia, tell us. Umeambiwa aje? Hajakwambia hiyo jibu. What is photolysis? Photolysis happens in the light stage or the dark stage. Yeah? Light or dark? Light stage. So if it is light stage, what is photolysis then?
That lady was in a photo.
Photolysis. Hapo mwanzo hujapata lakini hapo mwisho umepata. So it is the process by which water molecules are split in the presence of light to produce hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms.